Imagine waking up tomorrow and seeing silver prices exploding higher, headlines screaming about a massive rally, investors rushing in, and people wishing they had paid attention earlier. What if this next silver move isn't just a small pump, but the beginning of a major breakout that could reshape the market? Today, we're breaking down why silver might be on the edge of a massive rally, what signals are flashing right now, and what this could mean for investors, traders, and even everyday people watching from the sidelines. Before we dive in, if you enjoy smart market breakdowns and future-focused forecasts like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. It helps you stay ahead of major market moves, and it helps the channel grow so we can keep bringing you high-quality insights. Now let's talk about silver. Silver is one of those assets that often moves quietly until it suddenly doesn't. Historically, silver tends to lag behind gold during the early stages of a precious metals bull market, but when it finally breaks out, the moves can be explosive. In previous cycles, silver has delivered massive percentage gains in a very short period of time, surprising both retail investors and institutional players. Right now, we're seeing multiple signals lining up at once. On the technical side, silver has been compressing in a tight range, forming a pattern that often precedes a breakout. Think of it like a coiled spring. The longer the price stays compressed, the more powerful the eventual move tends to be. Traders watching these patterns know that when price finally breaks above key resistance levels, momentum can accelerate rapidly. But this isn't just a technical story. There are strong fundamental forces pushing silver higher as well. Silver is not only a precious metal, it's also a critical industrial metal. It's heavily used in solar panels, electric vehicles, electronics, medical equipment, and emerging green technologies. As global demand for renewable energy grows, so does the demand for silver. This creates a unique situation where silver benefits from both investment demand and real-world industrial demand. At the same time, supply growth has struggled to keep up. New silver mining projects take years to develop, and many existing mines are facing rising costs, declining ore grades, and regulatory challenges. That means even as demand rises, supply remains constrained. When demand grows faster than supply, price pressure builds. Over time, that pressure can result in sharp price spikes. Let's put this into a real-life perspective. Imagine a popular smartphone that suddenly becomes more powerful, more useful, and more in demand, but the factory producing it can't increase production fast enough. What happens? Prices rise, people compete to buy it, and scarcity drives even more attention to it. Silver is entering a similar dynamic, where rising demand meets limited supply. Another important factor is investor psychology. During market uncertainty, investors often look for safe haven assets. Gold gets most of the attention, but silver frequently follows and sometimes even outperforms gold in percentage terms. If inflation concerns rise, if the US dollar weakens, or if global financial instability increases, capital can flow into precious metals. And when silver catches that wave, it can move faster than many people expect. We've seen this before. In past bull markets, silver has delivered dramatic rallies that caught mainstream media attention. When price starts trending higher and breaking major levels, it attracts momentum traders, hedge funds, retail investors, and even people who normally don't follow financial markets. That creates a feedback loop where rising price attracts more buyers, which pushes price even higher. Right now, some analysts believe silver is entering the early stages of that cycle. Now, while gold may already be in the spotlight, silver often plays catch-up, and when it does, the rally can feel sudden and aggressive. Many investors miss the early phase because it doesn't look exciting yet. Then one day, price breaks out, headlines explode, and people rush in at much higher levels. There's also the gold to silver ratio to consider. This ratio measures how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold. When the ratio is high, silver is considered undervalued relative to gold. Historically, when this ratio starts to fall, it often signals that silver is beginning a stronger upward move. If this ratio continues to normalize, silver could have significant upside potential. But let's be honest, no market moves in a straight line. Even in strong bull markets, there are pullbacks, fakeouts, and moments of doubt. That's why it's important to understand the broader story instead of focusing only on short-term price swings. If silver truly is entering a breakout phase, the bigger opportunity may lie in the overall trend rather than trying to time every small move. Consider a real-world example. Think about someone who bought Bitcoin early but panicked during the first big correction and sold too soon. Later, they watched the price rise far beyond their exit point. Markets often test patience before rewarding conviction. Silver could follow a similar emotional path for investors, shaking out weak hands before continuing higher. Another interesting angle is the role of central banks in global monetary policy. When governments print more money, run large deficits, or struggle with debt, confidence in fiat currencies can weaken. Precious metals like silver and gold often benefit in those environments because they are seen as stores of value that cannot be printed at will. If macroeconomic pressures increase, silver could benefit from renewed interest as a hedge against currency debasement. Retail investor behavior also matters. In recent years, we've seen waves of retail investors entering markets through apps, social platforms, and online communities. When a narrative catches fire, such as silver breakout or precious metals rally, attention can spread quickly. That social momentum can amplify price moves, especially in assets with relatively smaller market size like silver. And here's something worth thinking about. What happens if silver starts breaking above key psychological levels? Media coverage increases. YouTube channels start talking about it. Twitter discussions explode. Google searches surge. More people become curious. More people buy. That attention cycle can fuel momentum beyond what traditional models might predict. If you've been following silver for a while, now is a great time to share your thoughts. Drop a comment and let us know whether you think silver is about to break out or if you expect more sideways action. Your perspective helps shape future content, and it's always interesting to see what the community believes. Also, if you find this analysis helpful, consider sharing this video with a friend who's interested in investing or market trends. Sometimes a single shared insight can spark a much bigger conversation. As we move forward in this script, we'll dive deeper into the technical breakout signals, price targets, potential risks, and what different types of investors might consider in this environment. We'll also explore scenarios where silver's rally accelerates faster than expected, and what signs could confirm that a true breakout is underway. We're just getting started, and the most exciting parts of this silver forecast are coming next. If silver truly is on the edge of a breakout, the next big question becomes timing. Markets rarely announce their biggest moves in advance. Instead, they give subtle clues, small hints that only become obvious in hindsight. Right now, silver is showing several of those clues, especially on the technical side. One of the most important signals traders watch is how price behaves around long-term resistance levels. Silver has spent years struggling to push beyond certain price zones, and every time it approaches those levels, the market tension increases. When an asset repeatedly tests resistance without collapsing, it often signals building strength. It's like someone pushing against a locked door again and again until eventually the lock gives way. Volume is another key factor. When price rises with increasing trading volume, it suggests real conviction behind the move, rather than a temporary spike. Recently, we've seen periods where silver's upward moves are supported by stronger volume, hinting that larger players may be stepping in. Institutional money tends to move more quietly than retail money, but its impact can be powerful once momentum builds. Momentum indicators also suggest that silver may be shifting from a slow accumulation phase into a more aggressive expansion phase. In past cycles, this transition often marked the beginning of multi-month or even multi-year rallies. While no indicator is perfect, the alignment of multiple signals at the same time increases the probability that something bigger is developing. But beyond charts and indicators, it's important to think about the broader market environment. Financial markets today are navigating a mix of inflation concerns, high government debt, geopolitical uncertainty, and shifting interest rate policies. In uncertain environments, investors often look for assets that feel more tangible and historically resilient. Silver fits that narrative. Think back to moments of financial stress in the past. During times of crisis or uncertainty, people often rush toward assets they believe can hold value when confidence in traditional systems weakens. Even people who don't normally invest in commodities start paying attention. That psychological shift alone can bring massive capital flows into the silver market. There's also a unique feature of silver that many people overlook. Unlike gold, which is largely held as a store of value, silver is consumed in industrial processes. Once it's used in electronics, solar panels, or medical applications, much of it is difficult or expensive to recycle. That means some of the silver supply effectively disappears from the market over time. This creates a long-term structural pressure that can amplify price increases when demand accelerates. Now imagine a scenario where green energy investment continues to surge worldwide. Governments push harder toward renewable energy. Solar production expands. Electric vehicles become even more common. All of these trends increase demand for silver. If supply cannot expand at the same pace, price becomes the balancing factor. Over time, even small supply-demand mismatches can result in dramatic price movements. Another powerful force is narrative. Markets don't just move on numbers, they move on stories. When a strong narrative takes hold, it can shape investor behavior in a big way. If the story becomes silver is breaking out after years of consolidation, that idea alone can draw attention, capital, and media coverage. Once a narrative spreads, it can become self-reinforcing, at least in the short to medium term. We've seen similar behavior in other assets. Stocks tied to artificial intelligence surged once the AI narrative took off. Cryptocurrencies rallied when digital asset adoption became a mainstream topic. Precious metals can experience the same effect when their narrative aligns with broader economic and technological themes. At the same time, it's important to stay realistic. Not every breakout attempt succeeds. Markets sometimes fake out traders by briefly breaking above resistance before reversing sharply. That's why confirmation matters. Strong follow-through, sustained volume, and healthy pullbacks can help confirm whether a breakout is genuine or just a temporary spike. This is where patience becomes an edge. Many investors rush into a trade based on excitement or fear of missing out, only to panic when price pulls back slightly. Experienced market participants understand that even the strongest trends have corrections along the way. If silver truly enters a long-term uptrend, there will likely be multiple opportunities to participate without chasing price at emotional extremes. Let's talk about price potential. While it's impossible to predict exact targets, historical context can offer clues. In previous silver bull markets, price increases of several 100% were not uncommon. While past performance doesn't guarantee future results, it does highlight how volatile and powerful silver's moves can be when momentum takes hold. If silver clears major resistance levels and enters price discovery mode, it could move faster than many expect. In that phase, price isn't limited by past ceilings, and psychological levels start playing a larger role. Round numbers often become magnets for price action, drawing attention and triggering waves of buying or selling. Another angle to consider is how silver-related assets might react. Mining stocks, silver ETFs, and other related instruments often move in tandem with the metal itself. In some cases, mining stocks can outperform silver during bull markets because their profits expand more rapidly as metal prices rise. This creates additional opportunities, but also additional risk, since equities come with company-specific factors. For everyday viewers watching this video, the key takeaway isn't necessarily to rush out and buy silver immediately. Instead, it's to stay informed, understand the broader trend, and recognize that a major move could be developing. Being mentally prepared for a breakout can be just as valuable as taking action in the moment. If you're watching this and thinking about silver for the first time, consider how it fits into the bigger financial picture. Is it a hedge, a speculative trade, a long-term store of value? Everyone's strategy is different, and understanding your own goals matters more than copying someone else's approach. And here's something interesting to think about. What if the biggest gains in silver don't come during the obvious hype phase, but during the quiet period just before it? Many of the best opportunities in markets appear when excitement is low and skepticism is high. Then, once the trend becomes undeniable, it's often much more expensive to get involved. As we move into the next part of this script, we'll explore specific breakout scenarios, potential risks that could slow or derail a rally, and the key signs that could confirm whether silver is truly entering a powerful new phase. Let's walk through what a true silver breakout could realistically look like, step by step, and how the story might unfold if momentum really starts to accelerate. Imagine silver pushing above a long-standing resistance level and holding there instead of quickly falling back. That moment alone could act as a psychological trigger. Traders who were waiting on the sidelines might jump in. Short sellers could rush to cover their positions. Momentum algorithms might flip bullish. And suddenly, what looked like a slow market turns into a fast-moving rally. Once that first wave of buying kicks in, price often starts to move more quickly than people expect. Small daily gains can turn into larger candles. Pullbacks may become shallower, showing that buyers are stepping in aggressively on dips. Over time, that creates a pattern of higher highs and higher lows, one of the clearest signs of a developing uptrend. But no rally happens in isolation. As price climbs, attention grows. Financial news outlets start mentioning silver more frequently. Analysts update their forecasts. YouTube creators and social media commentators jump on the trend. This increased attention can bring in a new wave of participants, many of whom are driven more by momentum and excitement than by fundamentals. That's often when rallies start to feel emotional. This emotional phase is where price can sometimes overshoot fair value in the short term. Fear of missing out kicks in. People who ignored silver at lower levels suddenly want in. Conversations shift from, should I buy silver, to how high can silver go? That shift in mindset is a powerful fuel for price expansion, at least temporarily. At the same time, it's important to understand the risks. Even in strong bull markets, sharp pullbacks are normal. Silver is known for its volatility, and rapid gains can be followed by sudden corrections. These pullbacks often feel scary in the moment, especially for newer investors, but they don't necessarily mean the trend is over. In many cases, they're simply part of a healthy market cycle. A key risk to watch is broader market conditions. If global financial markets experience a major risk-off event, or if interest rates rise sharply, capital could temporarily flow out of commodities, including silver. That doesn't automatically invalidate the long-term bullish case, but it can create turbulence along the way. Another risk is sentiment getting overheated too quickly. When everyone becomes overly bullish at once, it can set the stage for a short-term top. That's why seasoned investors often pay attention not only to price, but also to how people feel about the asset. Extreme optimism can sometimes be a warning sign, while skepticism during an uptrend can actually be healthy. Still, if silver's breakout is supported by real supply-demand imbalances and macroeconomic forces, the broader trend could remain intact even through periods of volatility. The challenge, for most people, isn't predicting the exact top or bottom, but staying emotionally grounded as price swings unfold. Let's bring this back to a real-life example. Think about someone who watched gold rise over the years but never bought because they kept waiting for the perfect dip. By the time they realized the trend was real, price had already moved significantly higher. The same dynamic can play out with silver. Waiting for absolute certainty often means missing a large portion of the move. On the flip side, rushing in without understanding the risks can lead to emotional decisions and poorly timed exits. That's why education, patience, and self-awareness matter so much in markets like this. If silver truly enters a sustained rally, different groups of participants will react in different ways. Long-term investors may focus on the bigger picture, holding through volatility. Short-term traders might look to capture quick swings. Industrial users could feel cost pressure as prices rise. And retail investors may slowly become more engaged as mainstream coverage grows. All of these behaviors interact with each other, shaping price in complex ways. That's what makes markets both fascinating and unpredictable. There's also a broader philosophical angle to silver. Unlike many digital or abstract assets, silver is tangible. It exists physically. It's been used as money, jewelry, industrial material, and a store of value for thousands of years. For some people, owning silver represents a connection to something real in an increasingly digital financial world. That emotional and historical significance can influence demand in ways that charts alone can't fully capture. As this story continues to develop, the most important thing is staying curious and informed. Watch how price reacts to key levels. Pay attention to volume, sentiment, and macroeconomic trends. Notice whether pullbacks are being bought aggressively or whether selling pressure starts to dominate. These subtle signals often reveal more than dramatic headlines. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of many people who only start paying attention once a trend becomes obvious. That awareness gives you a mental edge, even if you choose not to take any immediate action. And I'd love to hear your perspective. Do you think silver is about to enter a powerful new bull run? Or do you believe the market still needs more time before a true breakout? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Engaging with other viewers can help you see the market from new angles, and it keeps this community active and insightful. As we move into the final part of this script, we'll tie everything together, explore what a full silver breakout cycle might look like from start to finish, and discuss how viewers can think strategically about this opportunity without getting caught up in hype or fear. Now let's bring everything together and imagine what a full silver breakout cycle could look like from the early quiet phase to the potential peak of excitement, and what smart viewers might keep in mind along the way. A true silver breakout often begins when very few people are paying attention. Price starts to grind higher, slowly at first, almost boringly. Headlines are minimal. Social media is quiet. Most investors are focused on other markets. This is usually the stage where patient money is building positions, not because it feels exciting, but because the risk to reward looks favorable. Then comes the confirmation phase. Silver starts breaking above major resistance levels and actually holds there. Pullbacks become smaller and are bought more quickly. The market starts to feel different. The tone shifts from uncertainty to cautious optimism. Analysts begin revising price targets upward. More people start asking questions. Interest grows. As momentum strengthens, the trend becomes more visible. This is when the broader public starts noticing. Search interest rises. Financial news begins, featuring silver more often. New investors enter the market, drawn by recent gains and the fear of missing out. Price movements become faster, more volatile, and more emotional. During this phase, silver can feel unstoppable. Daily price swings grow larger. People share success stories online. Conversations shift from careful analysis to bold predictions. This is often where the biggest short-term gains happen, but it's also where risk increases. When excitement peaks and expectations become unrealistic, the market becomes vulnerable to sharp corrections. Eventually, every cycle reaches a cooling-off period. This doesn't necessarily mean the end of the long-term trend, but it often means price needs time to consolidate, shake out excess speculation, and reset sentiment. For some investors, this phase feels disappointing. For others, it becomes an opportunity to re-enter at more reasonable levels. Understanding this cycle can help you stay emotionally balanced. Instead of reacting to every price move, you can focus on where you think silver might be in the bigger picture. Are we early in the cycle, where awareness is still low? Are we in the middle, where momentum is building? Or are we approaching a hype phase, where caution might be more important? One of the biggest challenges in markets isn't predicting price, but managing emotions. Fear can push people to sell too early. Greed can push people to buy too late. The most successful market participants often aren't the ones with the best predictions, but the ones with the best emotional discipline. Think of it like this. If silver rises sharply, it's tempting to feel regret for not buying earlier. If it drops suddenly, it's tempting to panic. But markets reward patience, planning, and clear thinking far more than impulsive reactions. Another important point is that there's no single right way to approach silver. Some people may see it as a long-term hedge against inflation and currency risk. Others may treat it as a short-term trading opportunity. Some may simply want to understand the trend without putting money at risk. All of these approaches are valid as long as they align with your personal goals and risk tolerance. The key is staying informed without getting overwhelmed. Watch how silver behaves around major price levels. Pay attention to whether rising prices are supported by strong volume and sustained demand. Notice whether negative news actually pushes price down or whether buyers step in quickly. These small clues often reveal the true strength of a trend. It's also helpful to zoom out occasionally. Short-term price movements can feel dramatic, but when you look at long-term charts, you often see that big trends take time to unfold. Silver's most powerful moves in history didn't happen in a single day. They developed over months or years, rewarding those who stayed patient. Let's bring in a real-life mindset example. Imagine someone watching silver climb gradually over time. Instead of chasing every spike or panicking during every dip, they focus on the bigger trend and stay consistent. Over time, that calm, steady approach often outperforms emotional, reactionary decisions. If silver truly does break out in a meaningful way, there will likely be plenty of moments that test confidence. There may be news events that cause sudden drops. There may be days where it feels like the rally is over. But strong trends often survive these moments, shaking out weak hands before continuing higher. That's why staying curious is so powerful. Rather than asking, will silver go up tomorrow? A better question might be, is the long-term case for silver strengthening or weakening over time? That shift in perspective can make a huge difference in how you experience market volatility. As we wrap up, here's the big picture. Silver is showing signs that it could be approaching a breakout. Technical patterns, supply-demand dynamics, industrial growth, macroeconomic uncertainty, and investor psychology are all aligning in interesting ways. None of this guarantees a massive rally, but it does suggest that silver deserves attention in the current market environment. The most important thing is that you don't have to rush. You don't need to act on hype. You don't need to predict the exact top or bottom. Instead, focus on learning, observing, and thinking critically. Being mentally prepared for a breakout is often more valuable than acting impulsively when headlines explode. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into silver's potential breakout, make sure to share this video with someone who follows markets or investing. It could spark a great discussion, and you might help someone see an opportunity they hadn't considered. And before you go, I'd really like to hear from you. Do you think silver is on the verge of a major rally, or do you believe the breakout will take more time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective adds value to this community, and it helps shape future videos. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay patient, and keep an eye on silver. The next move might be closer than many people expect.